Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Sticks and Plan Podcast. Happy Memorial Day, everyone.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Russ. Let's get Russ back up here. It's just
I got
me and Pops today.
I got a construction cone on my screen.
Yes, ignore that.
Well, that's
it's nothing they will see.
That's a Michigan thing. Construction cones, and
there you go.
The roads are still shit. But hey, happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. So before we start, we gotta. I got saved here on my phone some things about Memorial Day, some statistics, but thanks for everybody that has given the ultimate sacrifice for our great country, that we can sit here and do things like a podcast and talk about what we want.
Absolutely.
And a lot of other things. So Memorial Day is for a particular reason. Although I will say, Kevin, it's been a working weekend for Russ and Mrs. Russ.
I believe it.
So the weather, it was a beautiful day yesterday.
Yeah, it was very nice.
I always say it's good fat guy weather.
Yeah, it was. The breeze was perfect.
Right, but it's not a good pontoon day. And so it was midweek when we seen the weather forecast. We were like, guess what? We're not going to be on the boat for 3 days in a row. We're going to stain the deck and put up the flowers. We're a little behind the 8 ball. And we're caught up now. The deck is set up. Sarah is still planting flowers. That almost doesn't end.
No, that's It's like you, like, oh, don't worry. After this campaign, well, there's always another.
It's a flower thing, and it's her creative thing. She doesn't buy potted flowers. She buys them and plants them, and whatever's going through her mind.
Just let her go.
It keeps her busy. They look really nice, and it's a work in progress. But the whole deck is stained. And Kevin, I have a very large deck.
Yeah, that's a big deck. That's a real big deck. It's almost bigger than your house, footprint wise.
Almost. It's full of shit though. I got a lot of furniture out there. She's had a lot of furniture over the years. Like all of a sudden, like, I need a bigger deck.
That doesn't make any sense.
I think it's the biggest deck on the lake. One of.
Probably.
There's probably a couple. I know a guy that built a pretty good patio.
There's that one that's down closer to the boat launch. It's like a single story house, but their deck or their patio or whatever wraps all the way around.
So I don't have the nicest home on the lake. I don't have.
Well, you have a lake home.
I don't have the shittiest home on the lake.
I live next to a Coney Island.
Sounds good.
I know. Well, you think that?
Yeah, as long as you don't smell like conies.
Yeah, every day.
But that lake, like every lake, is built up like crazy.
Oh yeah.
We were just talking about someone who knew has $250K into a home. He just sold it for $469.
Yeah, but he's one of the luckiest businessmen I've ever met in my life, too. I mean, he's good. He's a great businessman.
It sold in one day. The sign didn't even go out. There was an offer the minute it got listed, and it was, I think he wanted $465. They said, hey, we'll give you $465 if you throw in the pontoon. And he was like, oh, well, maybe. Why do I give a shit about a pontoon?
Yeah.
And he told the realtor or whatever, let me think about it. And then the realtor calls back, hey, we got a guy that'll pay $469, you keep your pontoon. And he was like, well, I guess we'll go with that deal then.
I got to find a place to pull my pontoon.
He's probably got a place, but
yeah, I'm sure he does. His barn dominium or whatever.
I don't know. He might have been there 5 years. So, pretty much brand new home, out
beautiful.
there.
It's a beautiful home.
And you know what? His isn't the most beautiful out there.
It's just a very nice home.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very nice home.
By the way, I was on Zillow. Anything you would ever dream about having in a home was in this home.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, whatever Sherry could dream of in a home.
But but I always say that about our old friend Denny Donaldson, who has an older home.
Another beautiful home. Still not the most beautiful.
Same thing there. He knew he's going to live there forever, and inside has everything you would ever dream of having in a home. Matter of fact,
he's got a lot of frontage too.
Beautiful. He's got beach frontage, all that.
Him and Dr. Bob over there.
Yeah, they do. They really do. But anyways, a lot of the newer homes have multiple decks.
Yeah.
That wrap around.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a multiple deck. There's no multiple to put a multiple deck.
I mean, you have as close
I'm a
to
single story.
Yeah, multiple deck as you could, though.
I do have
yours does wrap all around the back end of the lakeside.
Yeah,
of that
so
house.
it is a very large deck. Probably one of the biggest, but there's a lot of deck out there anymore.
There's a lot of deck.
I look back at where your grandma lives. When you were just a teenager, we lived back there. No one even wanted to go back there, let alone live back there.
No,
it was like a secret.
Yeah, we joked about that constantly.
She used to have like 4 or 5 views of the lake because she's not on the water. She has one. They've built up so much.
But talking about big decks, that was a big deck on that house.
That was a big deck.
But that wasn't lakefront.
That was my favorite deck.
Yeah, that was a great. We had
not being on the water. I loved living there.
Yeah, it's probably one of my. I mean, because I lived in the house next door too for a while.
And, we had beautiful lake views. The neighbors were cool as shit.
Yeah, there was lots of.
And like I said, nobody back there ever came back there. You do whatever you want. You could beat other kids up on their,
right in the middle of the street on a Sunday.
Street, neighbors come out.
No big deal. Oh yeah.
Yeah. The only. It's weird when you live in remote, weird areas where, nothing ever happens unless you make it happen. I'll never forget the time that the guy kept doing in his car, burning out in front of the house at 11 o'clock at night. Like, what the hell's going on? Little 25. You can't even do 25 down there. It's like 15. It's tight. Lake Road.
Curves.
Some guy's out brake torquing in front of my house at 11 o'clock. I'm in my jammies and slippers. When he leaves, he comes back around and does it again. So I step out. Hey, dumb fuck, what are you doing?
Hey, dumb fuck, why are you being
He
dumb
says,
fuck?
Fuck you fat fuck. Do I know this guy? Is he mad at me? The Loop has tremendous stories like that.
Yeah, but there's also rules to the Loop that people outside the Loop don't understand.
Well, so he takes off, and I go back in the house bitching mad. Who's this guy? He comes back and does it again. Well, this time I run in it. I had a handrail made of maple or oak that had fallen off. I hadn't screwed it back on yet. I grabbed that handrail and I'm like, buddy, you better get out of here. Fuck you, you fat fuck. I'm like, I can't believe this has happened. I'm in my slippers. And he gets out of the car. I'm like, buddy, don't come one closer to me. I'm going to whop you with this handrail. And he just kept talking and kept coming closer. And I whopped him with the handrail. Put a knot on him instantly. But for some reason, another car was pulling up. Traffic never down the street. And they're relying on, don't hit him again. Don't hit him again.
Don't hit him again. Don't hit him the first time.
and I'm like, why not? I'm mad at this point. You just keep hitting a person. And they're like, he'll get in that car and drive. You got
well, that's a good point.
Plus, I had Grandma and Sarah. Stop it, Russ. Don't kill him.
See, the difference between you and me, when I had my incident, I had Grandma yelling, kick his ass, Kevin.
I know.
But it's funny, though, too, because when I was done and you were still out there, talking to the kid or arguing with the kid, I went in and grabbed a golf club and came back out.
Yeah.
But he rode his bike over.
What a wonderful neighborhood. And you're all probably thinking, you live in a horrible neighborhood. No, nothing ever happened ever unless we created it back there. It was a quiet, rural neighborhood, end of a street. Half the homes were vacation homes. The other half were people that didn't give a shit. But every now and then, the strangest shit would happen.
Yeah, it was. I was one of those neighborhoods where when people do drive through, everybody goes, "What the hell is that?" It's like everybody knew everybody's car. It's funny because I just checked the chat here, and one of my good friends, Tweety's in the chat. She said, "Hi, Pops. Hi, GB." But then she said, before I even said that, she says, "You should take the golf club out with you next time." Well, Tweety, guess what I did one time?
Yeah.
Him and all his buddies rode their bikes over to my house.
I tell you what, I thought when I went back in the house, I was going to grab the handgun.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm mad. Yeah, you know how mad, like seeing, what is this? Luckily, whatever reason, I didn't, and I grabbed that handrail.
Yeah,
that'd have been
probably good.
I wouldn't want to have dealt with that incident.
No, that's a whole thing. We don't need. We don't need murders.
The whop in the head. Come to find out,
gotta dig a hole.
Come to find out, he was staying in the home behind us.
Oh, those rentals?
No, that old girl behind us bought that chunk. She bought the inner loop and had that shit house behind us.
Yeah.
And she likes homeless people.
Oh,
and she was letting him stay there temporarily, and apparently he has a drug problem. And and he thought he needed to do that. I didn't know him. I thought the guy knew me and was mad at me or something, Anyways, come to find out he's staying back there. Of course, he couldn't stay back there anymore. They ran him out of there.
Well, you never break torqued in.
You never know who a neighbor's going to let stay at their house.
Yeah. A nephew, a cousin, a friend, or whatever.
Right.
Homeless person.
Speaking of, here in the city of Jackson, that young man got shot over here at Southridge Park last week, middle of the day, 3:00, right here adjacent to the Commonwealth parking lot.
Yeah.
Shot and killed. And I'd since read something on Facebook where Southridge Park is evicting the lady that lived there. I don't know the scenario. Okay. So lady lives in the apartment.
Uh-huh.
She's invited somebody over.
Uh-huh.
Somebody that has a dispute with that person confronted him there, and it ended up in somebody getting shot and killed. Apparently the tenant's brother, cousin got shot and killed. And everybody's like, well, that's horrible. That's horrible. Why would you evict her? Well, I have a wife in the property management business. You are responsible for the people that you invite over.
Yes.
And I've often said it. This is difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah, somebody came over and started shit with your company.
Yeah.
But come on, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's more behind the story.
Yeah, well, I think it could be one of those situations where
it sucks.
A boyfriend lives there, not on the lease. That
right, and now usually, that'll pinch it off.
Yeah,
because
I'm assuming they're income-based housing over there.
Oh yeah. Having a wife that's been in the housing game for a very long time, affordable housing, conventional housing, she's been in a lot.
And grandma, and
you could say, hey, that's a horrible apartment complex / happens there. All boils down to management.
Oh, absolutely.
If you get the right management in there that don't follow the rules, you'll clean up a property real quick.
Well, look at
you can't put up a no shit.
What is it? I don't know what it's called now. Abbey Villas. Back when grandma managed it, it was a much different place.
Well, your grandma, now she was in her 50s, upper 50s. I don't know then. There'd be an incident out in the parking lot. She'd be out there in the mix.
Oh yeah,
you boys get out of here.
Yeah.
She didn't care. I'd be like, I'd be like, Mom, just call 911.
Yeah, she's like knocking on doors, evicting people.
I remember one incident, her maintenance guy got knocked out.
Yeah,
but you know what? You don't hear much out of there anymore. They
tightened it up pretty good.
What it is you got to contain it, but you got to deal with it. Management's everything.
Oh, absolutely.
But I came in after that terrible incident over here at Southridge Park, and I asked the security guard, Jesse, here at the Commonwealth, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. He goes, Ross, the Jackson Public Schools has a bus stop in the parking lot.
Yeah, I see him get off.
That gets off at that time. Now, half them kids attend the daycare that's in this building.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
By the way, the whole K through 12 charter school daycare process is in the development stages here at this building.
It was just childcare before.
But Jesse every day goes and watches the kids come off that school bus, and he escorts them over to the daycare and stuff. He just does it every day.
Well, that's good.
So he was out there when that went down, and but thankfully Jesse was out there, armed security. He's gonna make sure
he's
kids
a nice
are
guy, but he ain't gonna put up with shit.
But you know what, guys, you young people out there, John's going to talk about this on his Holmes Jackson.
I'm sure. Yeah, which will be Thursday, actually.
Yeah.
We had to reschedule.
And we'll let him elaborate on it more. And you don't look at the time of day when you're going to have a beef with somebody. But goddamn, that's when the kids are getting out of school, the middle of the day. Just everything stacked against the incident here, man. Just not good.
Yeah, no, that could have ended way worse, honestly. I mean,
man.
And Tweety puts in here something about you shouldn't shoot somebody over being loud at night. Well, Tweety, you don't understand. You're from California.
that Michigan is different. Michigan people, especially rural Michigan people.
And I mean, you probably you're right. You probably shouldn't. But
and Kevin's no one to mess with. Kevin's got courage. Let me tell you that. We've been through a lot. But in our Jennings family, between my father, his grandpa, myself, and Kevin's little brother, Matt, we have a little bit of a temper to where when you get us past that point, and let me tell you, Matt's worse than I am.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got better.
And Grandpa is too, but he's better in his age. Once it's done, it's done. And you know, it's, well, you see red. And
like, I'm probably the calmest of all of us, but you've seen where you reach that level and it's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Someone's getting hurt.
I watched the largest man I know rock your world, and you knew it was going to happen. But after that happened, the old boy's been cool ever since. It's been years.
Every time he sees me, he buys me a shot or offers to buy me a shot.
Hey, when I was leaving your place of work a couple of weeks ago, he was coming in as I was leaving.
Yeah, he comes in a lot,
and he, you know how he is. You know, hey, how you doing, man? And he then recognizes, how he is, but
he gets a lot less gangster.
That's all. He's old. He's old gangster.
Yeah, but that's exactly that. He's younger.
He's got that respect.
Yeah. I mean, he rocked me. He didn't knock me out, but I saw Tweety Birds.
That's a big man.
That's a big guy. And ever since then, though, it was just
I don't think
anyone's ever stood up to him and then also got hit by him and then continued to stand up to him. I mean, it was just stupidity. But
it was instant when we owned the bar, and he was going to take as much as he could until it was dealt with. Yeah. And you being the manager knew you had to.
Yeah, I had to say something.
Yeah. I mean, he stopped. He ended up being a great customer.
The things I said were probably out of line, but also not. I mean, but even later, he's like, that's why I don't drink Hennessy anymore.
Well, he's not as large as he used to be.
No,
he's
lost
some weight.
Yeah,
he's still a big man. He is.
Yeah. Well, he's older than I am, so I'm sure at his age. We've seen a lot of the, I guess, hardcore like Terror Bar Park guys.
Yeah,
not to be quite that anymore. They lose a lot of their stature.
Well, even me and my age, if I was at a bar, which I don't go to many anymore, and something that were to happen, I would probably just leave.
Yeah.
Where before I'd be like, well, I go back to with my buddy Dennis back when we were in the Page One, which is a shoebox of a bar, and they all got fighting, and I didn't get in the mix, but I just told Dennis we turn around in the bar stool and said, just kick them back in. Don't spill my beer. We just kick them back in. Anymore, I'd be like, yeah, I'm leaving now.
Yeah, I see. I've always been.
I don't need this.
I mean, at your bar, like if something's going on, if it's my job to help. If it's not my job, that's someone else's job.
No. I like this. It reminds me of a time, 2 incidences in my life where I got involved. One was helping a police officer that was getting whooped.
Yeah.
Right. And I walk up. You want me to help? Yeah, please help.
please make this person
and so
stop stopping me.
I help.
Yeah.
I help. And then the cops' buddies come in, and they cuff the guy up. But the guy would have been in big trouble if I hadn't helped.
Yeah.
But one of the officers that came in to help him, this was 25 years ago. Policing's different, okay?
Yeah.
They used to operate different.
Body cams have changed things.
He had a beef with me because I was friends with the girl he was trying to get with.
Yeah.
And there was an incident. But anyways, after that incident, they ID you because in case you have to forward it to the prosecutor.
You got to be subpoenaed.
I was a witness and all that.
Yeah.
The next day, I had an outstanding misdemeanor warrant for like a debt I hadn't paid or something. And, the next day they came and arrested me.
Damn it. Oh.
So I helped the police, and the next day I end up in jail.
They sent the warrant division.
But, unlike somebody we know in our family, I got out of jail in 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 50 minutes. My old boss.
See, I've been in jail twice. One, I was there a minute, but the other one was contempt of court, and I was out in about an hour.
Yeah. I'm not sticking around here. I'm figuring this out. But
I don't like jail.
So... Yes, I would probably help an officer in need.
Right.
I see on Facebook, I would jump right in. Yeah, me too, probably. But I do it with a little more hesitation anymore.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
Not though I have any warrants anymore to have that worry.
Well, my hesitation would be is that people don't fight anymore. They'll just shoot.
Yeah, I know. That
would be my concern.
And then another incident, my second wife, Eris, worked at Best Buy. She sold Sprint phones at the time. By the way, she killed it in that business. She made some money selling phones. This is when cell phones were first coming out. And We had only one car, and I had to pick her up. And I'm sitting out front, and every day I watch this kid pick up grocery shopping carts from the plaza that it's in. And one day, this van that said something painting on the side rolls up, and this older guy gets out and kicks the shit out of the kid, the bagger, the kid, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, that doesn't seem right.
Something's off here.
You know, why are you beating up the kid? And me and like someone else in the parking lot get involved and break it up, and the cops come. And of course, they take your ID. Yeah. Well, we didn't know I got subpoenaed to court. It was 3 days out of my life.
I think about that story all the time.
And then come to find out, the little shit bagger kid had beat up, and there's police reports supporting it, the guy's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
So he was there like, hey, don't be messing with my daughter.
That's the other problem. You never know what the whole story is.
Goes back to mind your own business.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know the backstory of the business that's being conducted here.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
I should have just called 911 and went about my way.
Yeah, but, well, it goes back to when you own the bar, when we kind of had to make that rule. It's like, if it's in the parking lot, it's not our problem.
I know, yeah.
You know, because it's just, we've all taken our own lickings.
In hindsight, that parking lot that we owned was a liability. I look at these downtown places. The Foundry does this all the time. Well, it ain't in my parking lot. All you got to do is kick them out the door of the Foundry, and you're on city property.
Yeah.
And it's the city's responsibility at that point in time. By the way, they fixed that problem significantly.
I haven't heard much from down there in a while.
They don't party in the parking lot. The city ain't messing around with that. So thankfully, for that situation's cool. And I haven't heard a problem at all at the Foundry. You know, the Foundry's a fun place.
I've
the owners there are serious. They want to run a good business, and I know I feel
law enforcement.
Yeah, I feel from them. The circumstances around them for a while created the problems. And like they were saying, they'd party out in the city parking lot, drinking their bullshit, and then come into the club and start problems, or the problems would be out in the parking lot. They'd get the bad raps. Thankfully, that's over. But anyways, we own that parking lot. I'm like, if someone gets hurt out here, I'm responsible here.
Yeah,
but we would just let them go.
I mean, and I've kind of translated that into where I work now. Is like we own the lot there, but I'm like, especially Mittens always wants to go out and deal with it, and I'm no. Call the police. Let PD handle that.
And your employer even knows that.
Me and Rick have talked about it.
Yeah, just let him go. He doesn't worry about liability a whole lot.
No, I mean, really and truly, your liability is there, but we've seen some bad situations happen in that parking lot at McThirsty's.
Oh, yeah.
That would never came back on us, thank God.
Terrible.
But
now, we would always say, we'd yell at the door, cops are on their way, because they would be on their way.
That doesn't work anymore.
They never worked then. They would always just stay there. The cops would roll up in there, and they wouldn't arrest the person that was the problem. They would just start arresting people
for disorderly or
drunk
in public.
That changes the game. Yeah, the police are like, I got other things to do than dealing with this dumb shit. Someone's going to jail.
Yeah, I'll never forget when that judge was in there. And something went on. And next thing you know, there was every department.
21 police officers.
There was state, there was county, there was city, there
Springport.
was Blackman. Yeah, they're coming from everywhere.
They were. Yeah, when I called 911, I said, Judge so-and-so's here, and there's a big fight. And
they came quick.
Apparently, there's a correlation to response when you throw in circuit court judges.
Well, that's like I always say when I have to call there, especially, they're like, is there any weapons involved? I don't know. And then I'd hang up. Guess what? With the quickness.
Right. Well, I don't want to go out there and find out.
Yeah, no, I have no idea.
Luckily, we've never had a weapons issue inside.
Well, I mean, I think me and Sean helps that.
Yeah. We were the only bar in Jackson that had armed bartenders.
And the cops knew it?
Openly carried.
And, we concealed.
Ish.
In a sloppy way. I remember the maintenance man one time, some guy was in there talking about the gun he had, and you know, Corey is. He's sitting there, and me and Sean were kind of just already giggling to ourselves. And Corey goes, you know that there's 2 firearms right now that can spin your gun right out of your hand or something like that. Like, there's something very Coreyisms. Yeah. And the guy's like, what? Mm-hmm. And then, at that point, I must have been walking down the bar or something, and, my big-ass 45's hanging out. Like, the guy left.
No.
He just left.
I'm glad that's over with.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, interesting times.
It taught us a lot. I always say it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
I would say, too. I'm too old for all that. Plus, there wasn't enough money to be made to make it worth it.
No, even when there wasn't.
Yeah. I don't know. We got in the weeds there.
Yeah.
Once again,
welcome to the Stick of Blind podcast. That's what we do here.
Thanks. It is Memorial Day.
Yes.
You know, we talked about not doing. I said, do you want to do a stream today? Because sometimes holidays we do them. And you're like, yeah, let's. You know what? What else am I doing? She's planting flowers. I might as well be here for an hour and a half.
Right, and plus, it kind of fits our theme for the show overall. I mean,
yeah, I guess
we're fairly
background.
Patriotic. Yeah,
sweet background.
We're a fairly patriotic show. I mean,
we are.
So I mean,
in our own mind.
Plus, like you said, what else am I gonna do? This is what I do. So
yeah,
I got today off. So
yeah, that's right. You're a podcaster for real.
Yeah,
I just show up on Mondays.
Yeah, you show up on Mondays, and I make sure it works for you.
Hit home Jackson. A lot of good response out of that show.
Yeah, a lot of people like it
with John Wilson. I do. I look forward to it. Now, usually what he's talking about, I already know about.
Yeah,
but I like John's twist.
Would
I like
other people don't know. Actually, this week I got to talk to John about it. Remember a couple weeks ago we talked about this tornado alarms. That were
they
didn't work or who did it. Well, another show I watched was talking about a similar situation in St. Louis, where someone just didn't push the button or someone didn't connect, and then they found out
automatic. I don't know.
Then they found out they didn't even work anyway.
No, get this, Kevin. I wonder if we're at a point with those where they're obsolete.
Well, yeah, my phone's going off before that.
Notification is in multiple layers. From your phone to they're telling you days before we're going to have sketchy bullshit.
Yeah, I keep seeing it on my phone where it's like, be prepared for tornadoes tomorrow.
Right, and then if it's the middle of the night and you're asleep, you're not going to hear that siren unless you live next to the damn thing anyway.
And you're going to ignore it.
You know, but that alert on your phone,
yeah, it doesn't.
It wouldn't wake you up.
Yeah, no,
it wouldn't me. It wouldn't me.
No, it has woken me up, but it's just
now most tornadoes are late afternoon, early evening, but the night ones are the ones that mess people up.
Yeah, that's like the one that hit Dexter.
So between the internet, which is more reliable than cable or anything, you know, you're staying informed on broadcast plus your phones.
Yep.
The question to me is, how much does this emergency siren thing cost?
Yes.
And if the cost exceeds the value, it's time to probably get rid of that.
I think I'm going to write that down. Because,
the value or the reliability.
The video I saw in St. Louis, there is a, what do they call her? Dang it. What is Batman's, the guy that runs, commissioner? She was a commissioner, and I don't know a commissioner of what. I don't know if that's her only job is to push the button, but they brought up a good point. They're like, why don't they just have, if it is a push button, say, why don't they have it in the sheriff's department or the fire department?
So I think it is. So,
but
the National Weather Service,
they have their own like whatever hub.
All right. So around here, the National Weather Service
from Grand Rapids
puts out the tornado warning.
Yeah.
And then the 911 dispatch, from what I understand, is then supposed to push the button. And I think they push the button. How can they mess that up? Here's the problem. Not all of the sirens are working. And so if you're relying on an unreliable system, that's dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
You're almost better off not to have that system.
Well, you work with fire extinguishers. A fire extinguisher is useless. If this room catches on fire, I go out there as a fire extinguisher and I pull the trigger. It's not been maintenance.
So
it doesn't go off. I'm on fire.
A discharged fire extinguisher next to a charged fire extinguisher is extremely dangerous because you grab the wrong one.
Yeah.
And now you got to go back because seconds go fast. So it's a false sense of security. And I think of this day and age. Now, you and I have talked about this too. What about our relative, we call her Aunt Connie.
Yeah.
She's 92.
Yeah.
I don't think she's got a cell phone. And you know, will she be properly notified? Is she relying on the sirens?
She's got the news on too.
She got the news on.
She's got the radio on.
Hopefully neighbors, hey, she'll probably get in the basement.
Yeah. I think
Grandma Betty's the same age, but she's got a phone and she knows.
Yeah. Grandma Betty's the same way that I've always been too. It's like, the siren's going off. We're going to go check that out.
Yeah. I've never been in the basement ever in my life.
Jackson's lucky.
I don't, even then, I've never been in the basement. I go outside and tornado.
I've had close contacts with a couple tornadoes that I should have went for the basement for. Whatever.
We're in tornado season for Michigan right now. It ends midsummer. Spring's big time for it.
Yeah, it picks up a little bit in the fall, but but like I said, with Jackson, we're in that valley, so it literally jumps right over.
I don't know.
And then fucks Hillsdale up.
We've had some damaging tornadoes also.
Right, but that's the worst ones do touch now. But mostly it's
it's usually more damaging than a tornado is just high winds.
Oh yeah, it's not what the wind. It's not that the wind is blowing. It's what the wind is blowing.
Yeah, you get a straight line wind that's 80 mile an hour. The limbs that is tearing off the trees, taking out the power lines and smashing onto your house or onto you or whatever. That's the problem. Or the winds take out an electrical line and zap the shit out of you.
Yeah,
you hear that,
and we do get some crazy winds.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, was it 2 weeks ago or so? I think when the whole tornado thing was going on, Jesse. Matt's girl up in Grand Ledge, they basically, there was a tornado right next to them, but obviously, nothing big. But I remember talking to her because she's like, "Hey, stay safe," because everybody was talking about it. And I happened to step outside. I was at work. I was outside, and it was blowing. Yeah. It was crazy high winds. Like, can't walk against it. High winds.
Yeah,
and it's nuts.
I think that's worse than a tornado. Tornado rips through a real hurry. I've seen a lot of damage personally with straight line winds, 60, 80, 100 mile an hour.
Yeah, talk to people in Florida or any hurricanes.
Like pre-storm wind before the thunderstorm actually hits. By the way, Kevin, there's been a lot of talk about chemtrails. We've seen them our whole life. And there's a lot of talk about how I guess they're getting rid of them or whatever.
Right.
And yesterday I was looking up in the sky. I didn't see one chemtrail.
Really?
Not a one. I think there's something to that. But, Mrs. Russ is big on, and I'm starting to believe her. Our climate has changed.
Oh, yeah.
We're in a windier climate. We're in a more storm apt climate. I think they've been messing with the weather for a long time. And then there's a price to pay.
Yes.
There's a price to pay.
Absolutely.
You should leave that alone.
It's like when they brought those little ladybugs in to get rid of whatever other thing, but then they found out there's nothing that will eat those little Japanese ladybugs, and now there are no real ladybugs.
That's right.
All those Japanese ladybugs, and they're bitey little bastards.
They are bitey little bastards. And where the hell do stink bugs come from?
Those just came out of nowhere, and everybody acts like they're normal.
No, there's not. No, they're harmless.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
Annoying. There wasn't no stink bugs.
And I've noticed that I haven't seen as many lately either.
No, I don't either. It was like a few years ago. And ticks. What's up with the ticks? It used to be rare to see a tick.
Yeah, now I see ticks.
Now ticks are on everywhere. But that's because with the weather change. Now, I didn't read the whole article. I did see the reference to they were potentially messing with the weather over the last couple of decades to enhance the climate change agenda.
Yeah.
And you know what? That shit don't surprise me.
No, it's something
because Al Gore.
Yeah, Al Gore, Bill Gates.
And them sick fucks, they would go out of their way. They've made so much money on this climate change bullshit that they would need to prove it, and it's not proven correctly.
Yeah, did you also know that?
And climate's always going to change to a certain degree anyhow.
We were told our whole lives that the ozone layer will never repair itself, right?
Right.
You know that the ozone layer will repair itself?
Yeah, isn't it kind of like cutting yourself?
It takes a while, but the ozone layer will repair itself.
Yeah, but you probably shouldn't keep picking at it.
No, that's the problem. Is we keep picking
at it like a scab or something.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's people around me that pay attention to that because I kind of don't a whole lot. I just listen to them or read an article here and there. Some people around me are deep into those issues, and I'm not saying they're wrong.
Yeah.
I let them keep track of it and let me know. You know what, Kevin? The more and more I'm into this whole Republican Party thing, the more and more issues are very important.
Yes.
But my only job, the only thing I focus on is electing Republicans.
Good Republicans. Yeah.
More and more I get into it. Let everybody else fight all those issues and let me pay attention to them and know what they are.
Yep.
I don't care too much about the back of it. As they come at me, okay, I'm on a deal with them or find candidates that help fight evil.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what our politicians are supposed to do is to help us solve those problems.
If you know of them.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way,
and they do.
We might as well talk about a little Leone here.
Oh yeah, might as well.
So 3 or 4 years ago, the township that I live in created an ordinance for special events.
Uh-huh.
It used to be the Carp Carnival, 50 some years, would just say, yeah, we're doing it on this date. And they showed up at the park and did it.
Yep.
They said, hey, now you got to have a permit. But the ordinance was created not for the carnival, for another venue.
Uh-huh.
And which then, to follow the ordinance, they've required the Lions to pull a permit for the 4-day huge event, the Carp Carnival, where we live. Well, we go to our last township meeting, and there's no permit yet. I didn't think a whole lot of it. It was brought up, hey, shouldn't the Carp Carnival have their permit out here? And one of the trustees, who's an active member with the Lions, says, yeah, they're waiting for the finalization. They'll have it here. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, when we don't meet again before the carnival, we're going to have to approve that application.
Right.
It's
a process.
It was glossed over real quick, kind of glossed. And we got distracted on other issues.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after the fact where I was notified by a citizen, and I've told other leaders in my community, it's not the usual suspects that brought this to me, because you got the usual suspects that like to put ripples and things.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to apply for your permit 66 days before the permit. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, Carp Carnival's what, 3 weeks out?
We don't even meet. No, right. In no permit. And I'm like, okay, I either sweep this under the rug and pretend like I didn't hear it.
Right.
Which I want to do. I don't want to be responsible for ruining the carnival. And so I wait a couple hours. I slept on it, or I think it was the next day. I thought I'm obligated now to deal with this to a certain extent. So I got a hold of the administrator and the supervisor, and I'm like, hey guys, just fix it. I don't care how, just fix it. I don't want me or this board to be the blame for no Carp Carnival.
Right.
Okay. Well, we have a special meeting Wednesday to approve the Carp Carnival permit, but this is how they're getting around it. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm going to approve it. The township now is in partnership with the Lions to have this year's carnival, because the township doesn't have to have a permit.
Do as they say, not as they do.
So we can do whatever we want in our park anytime we want. We don't have to.
Right.
So it's a partnership. I bet you that's all it is. I'm sure the township doesn't want to cut, because the Carp Carnival is a charitable event.
Yeah.
The Lions.
That Lions Club is one of the most profitable Lions clubs in the country because of that carnival.
It's huge. 100 members, things like that, where most communities have like 6, 12 members.
And their clubhouse is barely the size of this room.
Low overhead. And they contribute to, site?
Yeah.
Mostly site for...
most Lions clubs do the eyeglasses thing, but they...
The hearing aids, site.
Yeah, the center, or the Michigan Center Lions Club, they excessive amounts.
It
blows every other club out of the water.
It's all charitable. It's all charitable. And they've done it for many, many years. And I don't have no idea what kind of money they rake in for it. I'm sure it's significant. And I would hate to be any part of responsibility of ruining that. So good idea, partner. Hey, the township's sponsoring it with them. Like I said, the meeting's Wednesday. I'll know more detail then.
Right.
But this is what I'm hearing leading into this. But here's my point, Kevin.
All
right. They switch presidents and leadership at the Lions Club every year.
Yes.
It's just right. And it's volunteer. Yep. It's just normal guys that mean well.
Good old boys. Normally local.
Yeah, he works all day. I don't know what this scenario is. Okay, you forgot to do it. But here's where I'm at. We have a trustee and our supervisor who are active members in the Lions. Couldn't they have said, hey, you need to get your permit in?
And
I don't know. It like I said, it's all volunteer. I don't think there's nothing sinister or here other than dropping the ball.
I think the sketchiness actually goes not so much to the Lions Club, to the government. I think that, okay, so the only time that in my life I remember not being Carp Carnival is COVID time.
2 years in a row.
And they even talked about, well, were they going to do it again? And I almost wonder if the carnival hasn't been somewhat in some way a thorn in the side of Leone Township, but as profitable as it is. And they, they're like, oh, well, we have an opening, maybe we can.
So I picked up that tone a few years ago. We had a board member that's no longer on the board vote no on their application every year. He worked for the health department, and this whole ordinance, by the way, has a lot of hoops to jump through in order to get the permit. And he kept saying, well, all these obligations haven't been met that you have in the ordinance, and he'd vote no. I just found this out. I thought maybe he's just being a dick, voting no, but he was trying to be the letter of the ordinance. But Kevin, it's funny you said that, because Sarah feels that way. There is a bit of an undertone somewhere to not do the carnival anymore.
There's always something that they're pushing against. Whether it's the overnight boat parking, or
it's once again government making things more difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
Government, once you get the government involved, that's like the township partnering with this. Where my gut hurts with that. Anytime the government's involved, it's not going to.
Everything is all mucked up. That's for sure.
Yes, not government, less involvement in our lives. Just let them do the freaking carnival. I know, because my suggestion was, let's get together for a special meeting and amend the ordinance real quick, or somehow, and that wasn't the tone. There will be a carnival, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure it out.
I think in the years following here, we're going to keep a close eye on it. And guess what? If it takes me going knocking on, showing up in one of their meetings, hey, we're 75 days away, you might want to get that application in.
Yeah, maybe they need that, because
if active members who are on the board can't do it, I don't know. Maybe I will.
In the past, they kind of were just like, whatever. It's the Lions Club, let them go.
I don't want to overthink this. Like I said, it's a volunteer group of people, and their meaning as well. But kind of an interesting.
They're kind of a hee-haw group, though.
So now it's I doubt it's going to be named this, but it'll be the Michigan Center Lions Leone Township
Crappy Carnival.
Carp Carnival.
Awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I have a flash poop. I gotta go poop real quick. So it's all you for a second, Pop.
All right. Well, we'll talk about. I'm glad you told everybody that. Did you? I was watching the Fox News this morning, and the Ukraine-Russia war looks like it's heating up. Putin's being a real asshole and lobbing more drone strikes and bombs into Ukraine. President Trump's madder than hell over it. And I seen him before he's boarding the plane or walking across the lawn, however he does, addressing the media. But he's mutually upset with the verbal rhetoric that Vladimir Zelensky is doing to heighten this problem. We're, I guess, in the middle of hostage negotiations with them that I guess was successful. 1,000 Russian hostages exchanged for 1,000 Ukrainian Russians. So that's good there. But the talks of a 30-day ceasefire, which looks like might happen, but hasn't been signed yet. And Putin has stepped up his attacks. So if you ask me, that's probably one of the messiest things that the Trump administration is dealing with. I guess the Iranian thing is moving along the way it sounds. This could go anywhere with the Iranian issue of not being able to enrich uranium. Trump mentioned in the next few days we should have more information on that, and he's hopeful that a deal will be made. But he said he can't promise anything. It could go either way at this time. I guess it's probably not good that the Iranians not have the capability to enrich uranium. I think anybody could agree to that. You go back to something that I thought was notable, and they always bring this up. Well, we could put more sanctions on Russia. We can do sanctions. all right, guys, apparently I don't know enough about sanctions, but where the hell does Putin give a shit about American sanctions? He has proven over and over and over again that he can operate in his country just fine with or without sanctions. They are totally dependent on themselves. I hear the economy isn't great, and I'm sure these so-called sanctions probably affect their economy, but they're still hanging in there. And the threat of sanctions has never phased Vladimir Putin at all. So, maybe somebody can educate me on the effectiveness on sanctions on a country like Russia is beyond me. I think that's a bunch of rhetoric, if you ask me. I don't have the solution. I definitely don't. I am not in favor of arming Ukraine to any more at all. Matter of fact, I'd like to see a scale back. I do like President Trump's plan to mine rare earths. I guess that deal has been signed. Once we establish in Ukraine to essentially get a piece of their rare earth minerals, which I guess we're super short on, it would prevent further action from enemies like Russia to Ukraine. I think that's a great idea, but I guess we're years in the making before that's even significant. It's boy, that Trump, quite the situation's going on. If you go to Gaza and Israel, I haven't been paying too much attention to it. I am on X a lot. I don't post on X a whole lot, but I do read X. And there's an element within X supporting the people of Gaza. But I have a feeling here that Trump is letting that take its own course with Netanyahu. Let them deal with it. Of course, that's a whole different beast there. I don't know. When Trump here a few months ago said America, with help of other countries, maybe should take the Gaza Strip. We'll go through there and secure it and make it a beautiful, beautiful, profitable area of the country. I see where that's how Trump thinks. Instead of fighting and killing everybody, can we come to an agreement to where everybody's prosperous and in getting along? Personally, I don't get this whole Jew hating thing to begin with. I am not Jewish, but I've thought that my whole life. What's the point? You got college campuses across the United States with an element of intimidation of Jewish students, and it's fascinating to me why this even exists. And then for the universities to allow it is beyond me. Harvard has been definitely the focus, but we all know that this is a lot of institutions throughout the country that take billions of our tax dollars and then create an atmosphere to where everybody doesn't feel comfortable. It's just amazing to me how that even exists. Now, I assume that there's an element of students from around the world that have those feelings. That it's something that's been ingrained in them with the hate on both sides that makes that happen more. But it's funny when you see protesters, and if they're getting arrested and they're in support of Palestine, it's usually like white females that have nothing to do, have no relationship. It's amazing to me how the liberal mindset gets for a lot of people in situations like that. It's just amazing things. Trump's got a lot on his plate. Like I said, I think he's probably got Netanyahu dealing with it in his buddies in Kevin's back.
And I washed my hands, by the way.
So the focus now is on the Russian-Ukraine war, and then additionally what we're going to do with Iran with enriching uranium. There's your geopolitical news for the day while Kevin was taking care of business.
Tweety said, everything's a bad idea. U.S. needs to stay out of the Middle East. I'm sorry, but they're hell-bent on killing each other.
Yeah.
And we can't governments have been trying to fix the Middle Easterners
my whole life.
Each other since Middle Easterners existed. We're talking thousands of years. I mean, the Bible talks about it.
I'm tired of it. I'm sure everybody has been for centuries.
Oh yeah. I'm tired of these border skirmishes that we're sticking our noses into. Israel, Hamas, border skirmish. Ukraine, Russia, border skirmish. Everything in the Middle East is always border skirmish.
But I
don't care.
I guess where we're fortunate here in America is we have a huge nation and plenty of room for now. Where you take Israel and you take the Gaza Strip, there's nothing to deal with. A border's everything,
but
millions of people living in one little area.
Yeah, I mean, but just Russia, though. Russia's the biggest fucking country in the world.
Well, they're just greedy pricks.
Well, and I don't blame them. Technically speaking, Ukraine, most people in Ukraine are cool with being Russian anyway.
Well, the overtaken areas of Ukraine that's been overtaken by Russia, they're all Russian-oriented to begin with.
Well, the Ukraine
they never wanted to be Ukrainians.
Ukraine has only been a country since 1992.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was my middle brother was already born.
It was the breakup of the Soviet Union that created Ukraine
in a bunch of different countries. But regardless, and the thing is I understand if there's maybe some kind of asset for the U.S., but there are these precious metals and whatnot. But it would take billions of dollars and almost 100 years to be able to get these resources.
We're macking on those Ukrainian rare earth metals.
But it's going to take 100 years before we can access them. And
I don't know
billions of dollars in.
It's going to take billions, but we have to access them somewhere.
Eventually,
we have to, because others have gotten.
Well, I'm glad that we got them.
They're way ahead of the curve. Well, China has their own resource, probably with Congo or something. All I know is we're dependent on others for our rare earth minerals, so we have to begin somewhere. Now, I did hear where one of the biggest, and it's something you hear real quick and you hear more about it. That one of the biggest access points to rare earth minerals is in Idaho.
Yeah, something weird. Yeah, I've heard that saying.
Why isn't that on the news every day? And
that's because
we need more than Idaho. We need Idaho.
No, it's because we're worried about taking Indian lands and ruining. That's the same with the oil pipelines.
If we don't,
we're so worried about people.
If we don't get ahead of the curve on this rare earth minerals thing, there will be no Indian land or whatever they are afraid of to preserve.
There'll be no land. There'll be no. Our country is so reliant on these rare minerals.
Yeah,
that without it,
it's in our phones.
We're third world.
TVs.
We're a third world country.
We are.
If we don't get
how did our nation get behind the 8 ball on that? Is amazing
because of that. Because we don't need to build that pipeline.
We're not aggressive enough like other countries.
Yeah, maybe we should be more like Russia and just start taking shit again.
That's right.
Just take it.
Mexico,
Canada.
If it's the Congo, it's just the Congo.
We're gonna take it easy. They got bows and arrows and shit.
And that's ours now.
Yeah, this belongs to us. Well, it's kind of what we did with Gaza Strip. Is we're kind of like, that's kind of ours now.
Can we find the technology to where we don't need those rare earth minerals? Is there an angle there?
I think there is, but I don't think if we were to find that, well, then most of the people's jobs are gone.
All right, that's going to happen
for them to fight on.
Kevin, I watched an interview with Ted Cruz with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And Ted Cruz asked Elon, where will we be with AI in 5 years? In typical Elon, he goes, well, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's not. He goes,
in the technological
but he
world,
talked about we will be totally anonymous. not anonymous,
autonomous
trucking in most vehicles.
Oh yeah.
He says in 10 years, he referenced that Ted Cruz goes, what are we going to do with people's jobs with the replacement of those jobs with AI?
Yeah.
And Elon's theory is basically everybody will have a robot by then.
Yeah.
In 10 years.
Yeah, I believe it.
And the necessity to work like we do now won't exist.
Right.
Because it'll be provided. Your
robot will
your goods and services will be handled by your robot.
Yeah.
So my thought was, is I'm thinking, okay, in 5 years I need a new roof. You mean to tell me that my neighbor's robot will just take care of that roof for me? You don't need a roofing crew no more?
You'll just wake up one day and you'll have a new roof.
So like 3D printing process, there it is, and
well, AI. And they'll analyze the situation, go, oh, well, we need a new roof, and they just do it. Because that's the way.
So how do you pay? The materials aren't free, even if it's
I don't. I have no idea. I think that's above
my roofing buddies don't work no more. How do they pay for a new roof? The materials still cost.
Yeah,
you got to buy that damn robot.
Well, and the other,
honestly, robot's going to be free.
I bet you the robot will be provided to us, which is actually terrifying.
Scary. I don't like that.
I don't like that either. Another thing in that same vein another thing I just heard in passing, but it made sense to me, with the illegal immigrants coming in and taking unskilled labor jobs, that is going to cause a rift, because basically the people who are currently in unskilled labor jobs getting replaced by robots, there'll still be a place for them because someone needs to babysit the robots, whatever the robots, right?
Yeah.
But now if you have
the robots will babysit
50 Mexicans that can do it.
So I watched a video of a dairy farmer somewhere who voted for Trump, loves Trump, and knew that doing so was going to potentially ruin their several decades of dairy farm, because they hire all undocumented labor to run their farm. And now that Trump's been elected, all their undocumented workers have left. They're afraid of getting caught and sent away.
Well, they're going to get sent anyway.
and the first thing I thought was, well, you've been taking advantage of your slave labor prices, where you needed to pay people. Now, on the flip side of that, then the cost of goods, the services, is going to go up to the consumers. So a gallon of milk, if you're paying guys $20+ an hour to run the whole farm, gallon of milk could go up. I don't know. That's a difficult thing. We live in an area where we don't have a lot of migrants, but
we have a lot more than we used to.
My whole life, the onion farms east of the city here in Henrietta Township, Munis, Stockbridge area, for years and years. I don't think they do it as much anymore, but their onion pickers were I think undocumented workers. But if you're an employer and you go, I need 50, usually Mexican, I guess, 50 Mexican workers that'll come up here and stay for free, and we're going to pay them whatever. Don't you get a visa for that? Couldn't the employer says,
that's what a visa is.
Okay, then you're good.
Yeah, you should. But the problem is that they went, or we can just put them on a truck and we'll figure that out later.
Yeah, that's a pickle.
I've always said, though, I jokingly always say, have you ever picked strawberries? I love strawberries.
Yeah.
Picking strawberries is a pain. I'm not going to pick my own strawberries.
Terrible.
I'll pay more money. Let them pick my strawberries for me.
I would like to. It's strawberry season coming up here in Michigan. I agree. Can you pick them fresh for me and then me buy them from you, because they're better out of the field than they are in that frickin'
I
grocery
love fresh
store.
Strawberries, but I hate picking strawberries.
No, I don't like it.
Thorny little bastards.
No. I eat one, pick 3, eat one, and then
eat 5,
and then all of a sudden you got there's an issue,
and then you have a situation like I just had, and you have to run out of a podcast
right in the middle of a damn show. By the way, Kevin, so I other streamers, political podcast streamers, often can do a sit there and by themselves. And Scott McMahon's a good one.
Yeah.
And I was thought, oh, that'd be interesting to do. So that little 5 minutes that you took there was my first taste of that.
Yeah, you haven't had to do that.
And it's kind of weird.
I mean,
you do it all the time.
Yeah, it was weird for me because, I started the show solo, but then Friday was on the show for a year. And then when she left, it's a weird transition because at that point you're just talking to yourself.
I thought I would have.
You didn't have the chat. I didn't even have the chat up for you. So I rely a lot.
You need something to create conversation.
Yeah. Now I do a lot of videos and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like I said, I rely a lot on the chat. I communicate with the chat a lot. But if you didn't have that, you're just
so that 5 minutes I just sat there. Okay, let's talk about world news. And
yeah, I figured you had it.
I was spent a couple hours this morning watching Fox and
there you go.
Talked about. So I just talked about that without stumbling over words and stuff like that. So it was my
proud of you
solo news report debut.
Yeah, see, I'm what I'm doing is I'm weaning myself out of the field here. Letting you guys figuring out you can do it on your own, and then you're like, oh, why do we need Kevin?
By the way, we come up with I'll take credit for it, but I had a lot of help with the Jackson GOP Chief of Staff Chris on this. But there's a lot of political podcasts popping up around the state. Some sponsored by local GOPs or PACs,
right.
Conservative PACs. Yeah. My buddy Mark Fortin over in Macomb County, he started Michigan Matters. We've had him on the show.
Yep.
And he does every Thursday, 30-minute podcast.
Yeah.
And he usually brings on guests. He's really to the point. I like it a lot. But so between him and then the Livingston County GOP does I think it's every Tuesday show. I don't like the production value of it. They're sitting there facing one another, but their information is good, and they've been really great at bringing on great live guests.
Right.
Kind of like we used to do, and maybe I need to get up off my ass and get some more live guests in here because we haven't been since being back. We haven't really done that great. Like elected officials, somebody in here talking about maybe ranked choice voting. That's the thing. But Livingston County's got that. John's podcast, and I thought I'm going to take all those podcasts and put them in one spot so that me and my friends and the members of the Jackson GOP say, hey, did you catch so-and-so show? And they're like, hi, how do I find that? And you just go to jxngop.org, and they're all there. I think when Chris returns from up north, I'm going to add Rescue Michigan. That podcast doesn't need any help. And then Grassroots Army, Garrett Sedano's, his podcast doesn't need any help either. But they're worthy streams. I think absolutely. That I'm going to add.
Those are actually two that I've watched, and I've actually used Grassroots Army.
Oh, I like
for my show, my morning show, a lot of time, and that's those two shows should never even know each other. But
no,
the thing is they cover a lot of things that I'm passionate about.
Garrett is a trained motivational speaker and a great presenter. I think even without having some motivational speaking behind him, he'd have been good at it anyhow.
Oh, I agree.
He's just so good, and he comes off so humble and such a nice guy, and he really is. I know Garrett. But then again, I've also found out that he's commercialized himself a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it happens.
And I don't blame a guy. But he's done really good at tricking people that he's being
grassroots.
Yeah. I don't know this for sure, but Kevin Reinke is paying him to use his platform. Kevin Reinke's got a potential candidate for governor, has one called Beyond the Echo.
I've heard of it.
And it isn't too bad. Kevin does really good. He also brings on guests. He had Carla Wagner from Axe My Tax on there. And I've heard enough about Axe My Tax in the buckets.
Yeah.
But I will say that interview with Carla was one of the best interviews I've had in support of Axe My Tax.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of just sketchy ones in the fact that, like, at the end you go, well, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. So
I can't get over, and I've signed the petition. I've told everybody on there, and this is an initiative to eliminate property tax in Michigan. And everybody's for that. But I'm like, okay, what then? No one's been able to answer to me. And is the process of voting in millages
right
is shady. This whole May, August bullshit, voter turnout isn't there. Municipalities and school districts love to cram them on there because of low voter turnout. The only ones going to turn out to vote on those are people that are in favor. Yep. I don't really understand that, but it's the truth. I'm in. By the way, that brings up something I'll talk to you right here on the stream about. What do you do with the millages that have already passed? Okay, the voters of a community said, yes, we want to spend more money on public safety or schools or parks or pickleball courts or whatever stupid thing they got going on here,
right?
Legitimately or not, they did pass. And Axe My Tax comes in and eliminates them. The people of that community did say yes. How can you eliminate them?
You almost have to hold off until these millages expire.
5 years, some are 20.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and they're Axe My Tax, like, no, they're gone.
See, that's where it starts getting weird to me.
That's where it gets weird, and no one's been able to answer that for me. Now, Kevin Reinke is not an Axe My Tax guy. He's a eliminate income tax in Michigan, which was really worked well in Florida and many other states. And so it was interesting for Kevin Reinke to talk about his stance on eliminating Michigan income tax, and then Carla on the Axe My Tax. But I think both of them agreed at the end of the show, yeah, maybe we should eliminate them both. And you think, how would that happen? But Governor DeSantis in Florida is now talking about eliminating property tax. And it goes back to this. When you eliminate tax, you end up generating more money. Okay, so you have a 6% sales tax. There's more money in people's pockets to do things, so they spend more, and it generates more.
Absolutely.
And then here's the best thing about sales tax, in my opinion. You can choose not to participate. Know how? Don't buy nothing.
Yeah. Make your own stuff.
The big developers really pay.
Yeah.
If you want to develop something huge, 6% on everything you buy, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Where property tax, they just take.
Yeah. You don't have a choice. It's
income tax. You go to work.
They either take your money or they take your property.
They take. They just take. If you don't pay them, they'll garnish your way. They're going to take it.
Yeah.
So I like taxes. You got to have taxes to have services, roads and public safety, and you got to have schools. All those schools have got out of their minds. They really have.
But some of these schools private schools have always existed, and they've always existed well.
But they get private schools, not all. Some private, right? Your Catholic schools, your Christian schools get no state money, and they get money.
And then they don't pay taxes.
You know why? You ever notice, like Lumen Christi High School here in Jackson?
Yeah.
On Spring Arbor Road. It's been there. I don't know when it was built. It's old and outdated. Now it's in good shape. They're not Taj Mahals. Look at Grass Lake. Look at schools around
Manchester.
The state. Just fabulous facilities. And that's all because school of choice. They're all fighting over children. They want your kids to look at that school and go, Mom and Dad, I want to go to that school. Whether there's a good education or not, it's got fancy entries and beautiful
that's how
football fields.
That's the way especially Catholic schools and stuff used to be, is they were very, very nice because there is no school district.
Right.
That's also that they can play.
So
that plays into the sports thing too.
Lumen Christi is a good example because they've been state champion football forever.
Yeah, at least every other year.
And their home field, they share it with Jackson Public. They share it with Jackson High.
Yeah.
So they cut in a little bit. Jackson High's got a beautiful field. By the way, I think the Glick family just contributed a whole lot of money to enhance that. I only been by it a couple times.
It's really nice. It's the only high school stadium that I've ever really seen that has actual turf.
I think a lot of them do now, though.
Well, for a while, because it was a big problem with the smaller schools. You have to wear different kinds of shoes.
Oh, right.
Whatnot.
Right.
That's why anytime Lumen's ever played center, Lumen came to center. because the center kids don't have turf shoes.
Oh, to go over there, right. I get it.
Plus injuries and there's a big study on that.
Something I want to bring up to you, my good friend Randy Guppy in Newaygo.
Yes,
he's on the state committee. He's got a state representative interested in talking more about this and wants to come on the podcast.
Okay.
About no special elections, or any at all, if you ask me. No special elections on millages that are in the midterm in November or the presidential election in November.
We touched on this a little bit last week.
You know what? That solves a lot of problems. And if your millage fails, you can't come back for 2 years.
Yeah, for whatever the cycle is.
So the system is right now, and I've lived it in the township I'm live. If the public safety millage doesn't pass in May, we're just coming back in August. No, that's bullshit, guys.
Yeah.
The voters said no. Or if they would have said no. They didn't say no in my community. They said yes.
Yeah. But still, well, and the thing is it works two ways too, because a lot of times when it comes back, it isn't during a May election or something, and it passes. But then there's people like Sheriff Schutte. His millage failed twice.
Yeah.
And so now there's going to be some resentment, even if he was to repropose it in a great way.
Do you know, I think it's up to the commissioners whether that goes on a ballot again or not up to the sheriff,
right?
The commissioner, and the commissioners have no appetite to bring that back up right now.
Well, the voters are fed up of hearing about it because it failed twice. Why are we even talking about
I talked to Gary. He knows that.
Yeah.
He knows he's just going to have to deal with it for a little while.
Yeah.
It'll come around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It always does. And as long as the jail doesn't fall into Wesley Street.
I think that's a genius idea. But gosh darn it, yesterday I talked to State Representative Kathy Schmaltz and forgot to bring it up to her. I told Randy that I would see where Kathy's at on that.
Yeah.
We need to get some momentum.
I would like to hear where Kathy is, because Kathy is...
State legislature needs
right
to wrap their mind around
that.
And
I would like to see what her stance was.
The state representative Randy referenced, gosh, I've heard of him. I've never met him. I forget his name right now. Says they have all the authority to change the voting process on special elections and millages. And I think that solves a lot of problems. We wouldn't be talking about Axe My Tax if this process on how millages are elected, we've just piled too much on.
Yeah.
Too much on. If we streamlined it and the majority of the voters had a say, I'll bet you a lot of these would fail. I
think so too. If you're looking at that full ballot, like I said, we talked about it last week, when I voted for the Blackman Township public safety millage, a couple weeks ago, it was like 37 people had voted.
At 5 o'clock, I was number 51 in the whole township.
I was about an hour before you.
That's disgusting. And I'm going to tell you something more, and I don't think she had the numbers. She rattled it off. At my last township meeting, I asked the township clerk, so with they call them AVs, absentee ballots being sent now. You can sign up to have them, or you have them sent to your house. You'll never miss an election. It's sent in your mailbox. Oh, really? I got to vote?
I asked, vote, you send it back.
I asked her, this is just days after that passed. I said, how many of them are returned? She said, less than 30%. I'm going to guarantee you, which is disgusting. I'm going to guarantee you, Kevin, I'll bet you it's less than 15%.
Yeah.
I bet it's less than 10%.
What's the cost of that?
Well, nothing you can do about that. That was a citizen initiative that the Democrats passed,
right,
to where you can do that now. But there's a cost associated.
Yeah, there's still a cost associated.
And it's not going anywhere. I suggest people to do it, but I would suggest don't mail it back. Drop it off at your township. You can't trust the mail.
I passed 2 boxes on my way in to vote last time.
But, it's disgusting. So you mean to tell me that people got a ballot in the mail to potentially raise their property taxes and you didn't send it in?
Now,
that doesn't make sense. I can't wrap my mind around that.
Is that something you request?
Yeah, you have to sign up
So you requested it and then just didn't send it in.
So there was a big push to request them during the presidential election,
right,
and people respond to that. I'll tell you what, guys, millages are as important as voting for a president or a governor, man.
Well, yeah.
I mean that's your pocketbook.
Yeah, the money out of your pocket directly.
And as I approach being a senior, there's a bit of a push out there from seniors not having to pay property taxes. They've paid their dues, and I think I get it, but that puts a bigger financial burden on the families that could be struggling feeding kids and sending them to school. I'm not comfortable with that.
I think it's got to be an all or nothing.
Or nothing.
It's got to be all or nothing.
All or nothing.
You can't pick and choose. I mean, because technically speaking, so my grandmother, she's paid her taxes. Is that property?
She's paid for 7 or 8 schools by now.
Yeah, exactly. She's seen 7 or 8 schools go up and down. But in that same breath, it's like, all right, I'm a disabled American. Do I have to pay?
If you own property, you do.
Same situation.
And if you don't own property and rent, you're still paying.
Yeah.
Because it reflects in your rent.
It's all.
That's a big problem. A lot of renters, a lot of families, young families especially, rent. And they're like, oh, yeah, we want a new football field. We want whatever for the schools.
Yeah.
And they're quick to vote yes. I don't pay property taxes. Yes, you do.
And then bitch when their
yes, you do.
When their rent goes up for their next lease.
It's just economy. The being a landlord is a business, and the cost of goods and services are going to be passed on, if not immediately, eventually, to the consumer.
Absolutely.
Period.
The COVID thing where no one could get evicted. Well, there wasn't a stop on property taxes.
No, there wasn't.
And no breaks for them. So that's why rent right now is insane. And I mean, I was lucky enough to find a place that is very reasonable, but that's for other reasons. But I'm also, I know how the taxes work, but also, I mean, the reason I rent is because when my furnace breaks, I don't want to pay for it.
Right. And there's
but eventually that's eventually going to add to my rent.
There is a convenience to that. But you're going to pay for everything. One way or another.
It's just
like if there's a grocer.
Yeah.
If there's an increase on lettuce, they might eat it for a little while.
For a minute, yeah.
And then it gets to the point where they're going to have to raise prices.
Because they're trends. They look at the trends and
right.
Okay, well, we might eat it for a minute, but we're going to, overall.
Right.
But if it continues
same thing with a landlord, just because you get zapped.
Yeah.
For $500 doesn't mean you're automatically going to break that up into 12 months and get that 500. But you hit a 500 and now you do another 500 and now there's 1,000.
And then your taxes went up because the school's got a new football field.
Now all of a sudden you're going to raise the rent, not 25 a month, maybe 50 a month.
Yeah, 100
you
a month.
Times that by 12 months. All of a sudden that's how they're covering their spread. It's
business.
It's
really
business.
Yeah.
And a lot of young people, I don't know why they don't teach. I am not an economist, Kevin. You know that. But to me, that you don't need to be smart to see that. But some people really don't grasp that idea.
It's so funny because I mean, there's always been a thing where why weren't we taught how to do our taxes and this and that in school? And so you'd expect, and this was when I was young. I remember people talking about it. We're talking 25 years from has gone by, and there's actually less things taught like that.
I agree. By the way,
school curriculum is ridiculous.
I often think too, the value of a credit rating and the downside of a credit rating.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's important to maintain a good credit rating, but you also have to teach to use it wisely.
Well, that's another good one. I was never taught about credit when I was young.
That's right, me neither. And too much debt. I think some debt is good,
but debt is good for your credit score too.
But most Americans are swimming in debt. So I think what needs to be taught in schools on the value of credit, but the value of not to abuse your credit. Use it for your advantage.
Yeah.
Some of the richest people in the world never use their own money. They always use credit. How to make money with your loan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they won't take a loan just because it was offered to you. They'll take the loan because, how am I going to make money off this loan?
Credit mean get it.
Credit mean get it. I mean, I've
been like that.
I worked real hard to get my credit score because they gave me a credit card right out of high school and I it all up. Everything was, and so for years I guess I'll just pay cash the rest of my life. But I worked on it, and it's not that hard to start raising your credit.
The best thing that ever happened to me is a shit credit rating to where I had to run 20 years and just pay cash for stuff.
Yeah.
And I learned that the cash buyer, you're better off. I have cash cars. and a lot of things cash. But in the last several years, my credit rating is real good now, and I have a credit card and things on credit. But since I lived 20 years with piss poor credit, I'm still a cash guy.
Yeah,
that taught me that you can get by and keep up with the Joneses and be the cool guy.
Yeah,
without credit.
Yeah, and I've been the same way. It's just I've always just paid cash for things. Cause now I have a couple of credit cards now, but now also if you use those correctly, as in like emergencies, a car breaks down, I need a new transmission. I guess I put it on my credit card. I can do it right now. As long as you pay that off, you're all right. You gotta be careful. But no one's taught that.
So
it's something you had to learn. In the moment. You have to learn on the fly.
We did this pretty good to improve our credit score for a long time, where we bought the majority of our purchases would be with the credit card and then pay off at the end of the month. Pay off at the end of the month. Sarah's mother, and I think a lot of people do this. Betty, who's not with us any longer, she did that every month. Everything was on her Discover card.
Right.
She paid it. We don't operate like that now, but we did to improve that credit score.
Oh yeah.
And it does work. And then we did take out a loan for a new boat motor.
But again, it's like you said, keeping up with the Joneses, and
you don't need credit. Keep up with the Joneses. I've lived in cash for many years in a great neighborhood, and I'm as cool as the next guy down the road. No, I've learned in age, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
no one gives a shit that you don't own a Corvette, or I've got a brand new truck, but you're driving that $6,000 cash car. You know what? No one gives a shit.
Yeah, I don't think it hurt. That's a social credit score thing. I don't think it hurts your social credit score, but having that Corvette helps your social credit score.
So, about
like my BMW, I paid cash for that. Yeah. But it's improved my social
Kevin,
credit score.
You remind me of me. Remember when I drove Cadillacs for a long time? Cash Cadillacs.
Yep.
They would be 8 years old, 10 years old. Cadillacs would keep the same model for a long time.
Yep.
And you couldn't tell the difference. And I strode around a Cadillac for a couple of them, a Lincoln, a couple of Caddies, and
Well, the BMW.
They're like, hey, that guy drives a Caddy.
They all look the same for years, but I tell someone it is a 2010 BMW. They don't care. It's a BMW.
I don't see enough BMWs to know the difference between yours and a brand new one.
I've always loved BMWs, so the only thing I can really tell the years here and there, but it's mostly the models.
Once you
the 3, the 5, the 7.
Once you own a car like that, you I can tell that one's newer.
Yeah, there's a car almost identical to mine. I saw parked outside of my work.
Oh, here there's one, but newer.
Yeah, it's just like a couple years.
Yeah,
it's just the headlights are a little different.
The only reason I know it's not yours is it's not parked in a handicap spot.
Yeah. And I got a handicap plaque. I'm going to use it.
Kevin, every time, I'm like any guy, I see a nice newer truck. I'm like, sweet truck. I need a sweet truck. But I always think to myself, I don't have that payment.
You know what I think?
I don't need it.
That shitty silver.
I need to figure out a way to buy like a 10-year. I want a Toyota. Yes, you know why? You know why, Kevin? You buy a Tacoma or the Tundra. 25 years later, you'll still have that truck.
You don't use trucks for.
No, I don't haul nothing. Every now and then you wish you had.
Yeah, I mean, but then you realize that shit, now I can do that.
No, it's just cool to have a truck.
Yeah, I miss my Silverado, but I also love that because it was a beat up old truck. It started every day though.
That truck was ran great. What a ugly thing.
Yeah. I love it though because no one pushed me around on the road.
No, they didn't.
And I didn't worry about a cart hitting it in the parking lot.
No, you didn't care about that.
I was like, I wouldn't even know if it did.
Well, there's some gorgeous trucks. Matter of fact, you know what always catches my eye is the Yukons and things like that. I'm an SUV, full-size SUV guy.
The Yukons are sweet.
But I think if I was ever in a position to buy a newer vehicle in that regard, because of the crew cabs on the pickup trucks, I'd have to go with the pickup truck. It's more practical for the rare occasion I do need to haul something. I'd have it.
Yeah, even if it's a short bed.
There's a girl lives near me that's got a newer Yukon, and I can't keep my eyes off it every time. Every time I see it,
I owned a crappy Yukon for a minute there, and a few years ago I bought it with my taxes, and it's a sweet rig.
I know. I had an Expedition, and then the Suburban.
Yep.
I like my Expedition the best because it was
sweet.
It was a little lifted and had the bigger tires on it.
That's what Well, which one is the one? Because you have the same like model and year that Steve owns.
Yeah.
That's what Matt owns now.
Yeah, I know.
And
now his is 2-wheel drive though. That's why it's low rider and weird tires on it.
It's got a weird body package on it.
Yeah, it is the same rig though. By the way, there's a lot of them still on the road. You can't kill them.
No,
I think the Expedition, there's been some problems, but that old Suburban,
nothing motor wise.
That old Suburban style.
Yeah.
Well, it's Chevrolet. Those 3500 series pickup trucks, SUVs, all in the 90s and stuff. Yeah. They're indestructible.
Well, I learned this
truck was
when I had my Silverado. I learned Chevy from 1999 to I think 2007. Exact same motor, different sizes.
I watched a guy called Car Wizard.
Yeah.
And he talks about that.
Yeah, and they're all interchangeable parts. Yeah. So I could go to the junkyard and there'd be a 3500 Silverado and it would fit my 1500.
Right.
But then something with the government, actually. I can't remember.
Of course.
I think it had something to do with the Eco Fuel or Eco Boost or whatever. And it them all up. Now, then any Chevy after that has been garbage.
My mechanic, Derek, by the way, I got to get a wheel bearing on Grandma's car Wednesday, routine shit.
By the way, do you think he can work on BMWs?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I have we'll talk later, but I have a part that needs to be replaced, and I just can't get to it.
Oh, he'd be good. It needs relatively.
I got the wrenches.
He's a great mechanic, but I asked him about pickup trucks, newer pickup trucks. You know, he talks, but he said this is where they screwed up. Pickup trucks, you can find a lot of them without it. Was because of the government regulations on fuel efficiency. They diminished the horsepower of the truck and then replaced it with turbos.
Yes.
So he goes, do not buy turbo anything. So if you're buying a 10-year or newer Chevy or Ford, he's like, you're good. Make sure no turbo.
Yeah, no, I've heard the same thing with trucks. I looked real deep into turbos when I was looking around for a new car. I almost bought a Ford Taurus. SHO has 2 turbos in it.
Yeah, I'd be worried.
Fast as fuck. But when I looked into it, that's what I saw. Some problems with them.
Yeah.
But mostly it's with the trucks.
So
no turbos on trucks.
A big problem, and I'm going to tell you this is probably the case with your BMW. Something Derek told me is timing chains. In my car, timing chains. He says the solution to it, and this sounds like an old guy. He says. So with synthetic oil changes, it's every 6,000 miles. No, do every 3, do the synthetic. He says there's a detergent in the synthetic that starts to break down at around 3,000 miles.
Yes.
And that's what will affect your timing chain. If you do your every 3,000 miles, although you can go whatever 5 or 6 with the synthetic, you do that. Keep the detergent in the oil, not the old school. Hey, the oil. Yeah, you gotta have oil. That detergent is everything to maintain your timing chain. Once your timing chain goes, you're gonna spend big bucks.
Yeah, actually, one of the people on my morning show had mentioned.
I'm talking like a mechanic.
Yeah, she was a BMW fan too, and she's like, when your timing chain goes out, I'll send you the $3,000 tool you need. I don't know.
Is it the tool, not the part?
Yeah. Well, I've learned that with the BMW. I had to buy a whole new set of wrenches. It cost me $150, but because I need a.
You become quite the mechanic, ain't you?
Well, I've learned from Matt, and then Matt disappears, so I got to do something.
Yeah, he disappears.
But I need an idler pulley, and I did one on my truck. It cost me like $150.
Yeah.
Just the part alone for the BMW, 300, and plus I need this special set of wrenches. Derek's
a good option. The problem with Derek, you're going to be without a car maybe up to a week because he'll say Wednesday he ain't getting to it till maybe Monday.
Yeah, well, that's
but he is cheap and he's good and he's honest.
Yeah.
And I was getting oil changes with him, a synthetic oil change at Valvoline around $100. Then, of course, you got a couple of these guys that do the $39 ones because they want to sell you something, this is leaking here or whatever.
Yeah, that air filter.
Pain in the ass. No, I'm good, dude. Problem with Derek, I'd go there, he'd give me a $50 synthetic oil change. It's not that nice of a place.
No.
He's got a dog that runs around there, and he wants you to throw the ball, and it's always slobbery, and there's no place to sit because there's parts sitting around, and it's there's not a comfy waiting room.
No,
you got to be able to talk hokey mechanic stuff. He's a great. I love old boys like that. Yeah, pain in the ass. So you know what I found myself doing last week? I had a coupon. I had a coupon for the Valvoline, $25 off. I paid $75 for it.
Yeah, I've been holding off.
You know what? I pulled in, and 10 minutes later, I was down the road.
Yeah.
Well, for $25, maybe the convenience. That's where they get you.
I've been holding off on doing a couple of things with the BMW that I'll be able to do. I could be able to do on my own, but I'm just waiting for Matt. And I'm just like, I am pushing it.
Don't fuck around and find out. Just pay the $75 on the oil changes. Don't fuck around and find out.
When
timing chain.
This idler pulley needs to be replaced very soon. So I'll probably take it down to Derek and at the same time have him do my oil change, do all of it together. You know, one month when I get my check.
I'll warn him on Wednesday, and I'll forward you his number and.
Ask him if because some people just won't touch BMW.
So right now he's doing pretty good because I think I called Friday. He said, yeah, I can get it on Wednesday. So that means he'll do it on Friday. He's not good at scheduling. I've called him before. He said he'll tell you, I'm swamped. I ain't got time for this shit. And don't mess with him.
Just let him be.
Let Derek tell you. He'll tell you. He has no service rider. He is busy.
Yeah.
He's got two. He has a mechanic works with him, and he's got 2 lifts.
He's got He's got probably 25 cars on his property. I don't know which ones he's working on.
He's got a lot of poor people that don't have the money to fix them yet, so he allows them to park them there.
Or he's waiting for payment to let everybody.
Yeah, whatever that is. I'm surprised there's not a problem with that. Thankfully, there isn't. But I'm like, dude, you need to hire a service rider.
Yeah.
To answer the phone. So he's wrenching on a car. The phone rings. He's got to answer the phone all goddamn day.
It's tough.
You just pay the service rider like minimal hourly, and then give him a cut of the. Now he'd probably have to raise his rates though.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't know.
Come on the wash.
All right. So do we get on to announcements and get out of here?
I was looking at it. I think we
didn't talk about anything significant.
Nothing important.
Never do.
Unless you did while I was using the restroom. So.
All right. So,
go ahead.
We talked about geopolitical issues while you're in the restroom.
And we don't do that very often.
Oh, I wanted to say this about Memorial Day. I had it all ready and everything. This is why we celebrate Memorial Day, guys. Since World War II, 600,000 soldiers have been killed in wars.
Okay.
World War II was the deadliest with 400,000. And then I just did a quick Google search. Who knows how accurate it is? World War II, we lost 405,399 American warriors.
Okay.
World War I, 116,516.
Okay.
All right. So we lost a lot in World War II. Vietnam War, 58,000. Korean War, 36,000. Persian Gulf War, 383. I thought that was higher, but Operation Endure Freedom, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what it was called, Operation. Yeah. That was 2,349. But didn't that last like 20 years? A lot of these lasted 20 years.
We just pulled out of that.
And then Operation Iraqi Freedom, 4,418. So
that seems, it seems low to me, but maybe.
Seems low. 405,000 in World War II. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, well, that was, you got to remember, that was a long war, too.
But if it wasn't for those people putting it on the ultimate line for us, we wouldn't be here podcasting, talking about whatever we want today.
Or we'd at least be doing it in German.
They're constantly trying to erode that shit from us.
Oh, yeah, constantly.
First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, the list goes on and on. But, it's guys like you, me, and a lot of us that I'm going to fight until the end to protect our freedoms without physically fighting.
Yeah, I will not comply. Yeah.
You will not. I had some resistance during COVID, but I'll tell you what, you tried that COVID shit on me again. I'm going to tell you, go fuck yourself.
You know who the biggest one on that was? Matt, during that whole COVID thing. Matt was ready to fight security guards at Menards.
He hated that.
Or masks.
I was one of these guys.
I
remember the height of it. I'd go to Polly's. Polly's had a rule. Yeah, put your mask on, but they really weren't pressing it like Menards was.
Yeah, Menards has security guards.
I was just there for a while. I just throw my mask on.
Yeah.
But I was one of the first ones though to not wear it.
Yeah.
And then get the funny looks. Now you get those people out there. I never wore a mask anywhere. Guess what? You probably didn't do a whole lot then.
Yeah.
Because Menards was not allowing you in.
No, that little tiny security guard physically confronted Matt one time walking in Menards without a mask. I thought Matt was going to beat this little man to death.
Good way to fuck around and find out.
But guess what? he took us over to the service desk. We bought masks and we went about our day.
My compliance will not exist. You pull that bullshit on us again. So anyways, that's my fight for our freedoms.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to die in a war. I did not serve, and I'm too old to serve. So
yeah, we don't
thank
qualify
God
now.
These people did. Here.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, that I meant to do that at the beginning of the show, but just to throw that
and
out
one
there.
thing before I forget too, I heard of I don't know if it was a citizens initiative, but I wanted to bring it up to you about the Michigan roads. I heard it on the radio just in passing, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it reminded me of the one citizens initiative we always made fun of because we could never remember the name, and I can't think of it now. And this one had the same exact kind of. They told me the website.
They need to stop.
It was like it didn't make any sense.
I hate that.
I don't know if it was a citizens initiative or not, but it was something that I didn't know if you'd heard about.
Citizens choice, local choice, whatever.
Yeah, that was local. This one's like Michigan.
No wonder. I think they set that up to fail.
Save road, but it's like Save Roads, MI Help or something like that. I'm like, what is this garbage?
That brings up one that we're gonna laugh at here in a minute. By the way, you don't even know this.
Oh,
the Jackson GOP golf scramble has been postponed.
Oh, okay. Well, then
lack of participants.
I'm gonna take that
lack of participants. I don't know if it's because it's Father's Day weekend. There's too many other golf outings, or maybe people out there just don't want to help Republicans get elected.
Okay.
I'm
sad.
sad.
A little bit of both.
I was going to cancel it, but Nate, our vice chair, said, Russ, we're going to postpone it. We do not have a new date. Do not send us any money for the Jackson GOP golf scramble that was scheduled June 14th.
Okay.
All right. I'm really sad about that. I had my reservations from the beginning. Sometimes in this game, I've been at a long time, slow and easy. When you chase the so-called big money events, they never pan out.
Well, and if you bombard people with events, we've learned that.
Oh.
You go back to back and back with events. You think it's because, we need money. We got to do this. Well, people eventually go, I'm not.
I don't think they're reading our shit because we offer so much stuff, small and large. But anyways, that's not there. Our next executive committee meeting is June 12th here in the Jackson GOP headquarters. You can find out where that is by going to jxngop.org. And there's no Under the Oak speaker series because we decided not to do a speaker series because we were going to have the golf scramble.
Uh-huh.
You know what? We're fine. It'll be nice. We run in, do a meeting, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
We take June off.
Take a little time
off. This Saturday, there is somebody running for state representative. Her name's Laura Perry.
Uh-huh.
I have not met her yet.
I've heard the name.
Everybody loves her. That knows her. They're circling the wagon for her. Her campaign kickoff is Saturday, like 6:00 in Dundee. It's like $20. I heard it's almost sold out.
Yeah.
300 tickets. There's 20 left or something.
Wow.
You know, John Smith and Todd Gilman are a big part of promoting this. And I don't think I'm going to make it.
I think a lot of what John Smith touched turns to gold. That guy is a marketing.
He is.
He's a marketer. He can market.
So on that same day, Saturday 31st, Eric Nesbitt, candidate for Michigan governor, is doing a US 12 tractor. I don't know what you want to call it. He's going to drive his tractor down US 12 and make a bunch of stops. But he'll be at Meckley's Flavor Fruit Farms right off US 12. I think it's 7:30 in the morning. So I'm going to be up early and down there eating Meckley's donuts.
Yeah, the donuts are almost worth it.
And to see the Eric Nesbitt. I'm not saying Eric Nesbitt's my guy, but I'm not saying he ain't my guy. Eric seems like he'd be a great governor. But I'm going to, from there, he drives his tractor to Adrian to
hike. Holy crap.
Hooligans. That's the Lenawee County GOP is right there with Hooligans.
Okay.
And then from there, he's driving it to Tecumseh, and I think I'm going to follow him. I think I'm going to probably with Jimmy. I'm going to go to all three.
Yeah.
But then I got to stop short and return because it looks like the weather is going to be good. I need to be in my pontoon. And I do a lot of shit. I want to go to the Laura Perry thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to make it.
And she'll be around.
But I think I'm going to follow Nesbitt for a couple stops. So see you at Meckley's at 7:30 in the morning. Just go to Meckley's just to go to Meckley's. Have you ever met Steve Meckley? The coolest guy I ever met. Anyways, new party pack, GMPPAC.com. Yeah, cool. They're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they're always doing something.
JXNGOP.org. That brings me to, I mentioned it. You want to find some local podcasts, go to JXNGOP.org. They're all listed. The very, very popular Hits Home Jackson can be found at JXNGOP.org.
Yeah, and that show is Thursday. Actually, I have
Thursday live. What's that? 1 o'clock?
Yeah, we do 1 o'clock. You know how I work. It's probably going to be 1:30. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
most of your views are in the recording anyhow, aren't they?
Yeah.
He does get people in the chat.
We do. We have what is crap? I just lost his name. His buddy. He's been trying.
Will Hastings.
Will Hastings will be on Thursday.
Oh, Will is. Yeah, I've always been trying to.
Here it is. His own accent. There it is.
Will is. I like Will a lot. He can be a pain in my ass sometimes, then he can be awful helpful sometimes.
Yeah, his
he just calls it the way he sees it. I appreciate that.
His wife has been emailing me some videos and sound drops and stuff. So
see, he was very critical our last meeting about us spending $270 to buy gift certificates for the cops in Napoleon.
Oh.
But
all
right, that leads into something here that you guys, John has expressed concern on Hits Home Jackson. And that's the Jackson Chamber of Commerce Drive Jackson initiative.
Yes, I'm sure we'll be talking about that.
By the way, that's a humorous title because you can't hardly drive Jackson.
No.
But yours truly, myself, have been appointed to that Drive Jackson committee. I was selected 20 out of 100 or so. So before everybody freaks out, and I've already warned Will, I am on the Drive Jackson committee. Best to be in with them than on the outside bitching about it.
Keep your friends close.
But I'm going to tell you a quick story here. So we had our first meeting, which includes guys like Mayor Mahoney, County Commission Chairman Steve Shotwell, and array of people from teenagers to real estate, a whole bunch of people. They did a really good job choosing them. When I got there, Kevin, I sat at a table that thought I could see the presentation. It was a little off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then some woman I've never met before sat next to me. She lives on my lake. So I met somebody. All right, she's cool. But the two of us are just sitting there and the tables are filling up. And Mayor Mahoney comes in, and I was in the middle of talking to the new police chief. And Mayor Mahoney comes in and starts talking to the chief. And the guy from the chamber goes, "Hey, Russ, have you ever met Mayor Mahoney?" And I says, "Of course I have." We go way back. I went to shake his hand. Mayor Mahoney didn't want to shake my hand. It was really weird. Remember, we used to be kind of bubs.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to say it's my fault, but I've been really critical of him as well.
It started before then when he become super political after meeting Governor Whitmer and becoming pals with Derek Dobies. But anyways,
that makes sense.
But anyways, the chamber guy goes, as the tables are filling up, "Hey, Russ, can you two go over here and sit over here at Mayor Mahoney's table?"
Awesome.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
you know how I am.
Yeah.
Get this. We had like 10-minute breakouts, and we had a list the positives of Jackson and the negatives of Jackson. Me and Mayor Mahoney were on it. I will say one thing. Him and I are born and raised here.
He's plugged in.
And we know where our good values of Jackson are. And we also know the negatives.
Yeah.
And our table rocked. We had a kid on there, a senior in high school at Northwest. He couldn't get a word in edgewise. Guys like me. But when he did chime in, he was a smart little shit.
Yeah.
And then the lady that I met that lives on my lake, I think she might be a school teacher. She had to leave early. We had a lot of good input. So the reason why I bring that up, I think this group of people, we're going to be creative and significant in our efforts.
I'm happy to hear that.
Everybody there deeply cares about this community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's funny because the new theme song that you had shared in the Stick of Land page is shared for the Hits Home Jackson show. I changed some of the lyrics to like put in there like, no, get your news from your neighbors, like the people who care about the community,
right?
As opposed to just the guy on the TV, you know.
Bullshit. And then Americans for Prosperity, guys, what a great organization that is. They take on prosperity type issues.
Yeah.
Right now, they're fighting to extend the Trump tax cuts, 17 tax cuts. Anyways, they will be here Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Anybody's welcome. You come and you do a 30-minute training how to use their app, and then you can leave if you want and go make phone calls at your own convenience.
Yep.
Or you can stick around that day, and we're going to do some group phone banking. So 11:30 about, we're going to show people how to use the app so you can make phone calls. And then if you stick around until 2 o'clock and help us make some calls,
lunchtime,
AFP is buying us lunch.
I saw that.
You know what he said? I thought he'd bring it in, like we count how many people are here and he'd order. He goes, Russ, we can go to a restaurant if you want. And I got thinking, yeah. I'm going to recommend the Dirty Bird.
Ooh, good place.
So I hope there's 10, 12 people. Let's take AFP's money and go down to the Dirty Bird.
Well, maybe I'll show up if they're going to buy me Dirty Bird.
We got to hang out and make phone calls.
Yeah, whatever. I can fake that.
But AFP, that's Americans for Prosperity. By the way, if you're on Facebook, they have Americans for Prosperity. Then there's Americans for Prosperity Michigan. The Michigan one is really targeted at things that we all care about.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay. I don't have really anything big. Make sure you like this video or like this stream. We weren't on YouTube today. I just noticed that, but I'll re-upload to YouTube.
Oh,
I know.
You know what? When I share it to Facebook and X, it's easier to do it from YouTube. And plus last week when you got rid of the graphic to have our pretty faces when I post, I couldn't do it from Rumble, but I could do it from YouTube.
I'll make sure it's up on YouTube. But yeah,
I know you're a Rumble guy.
Yeah, my loyalty is Rumble, but I always try to get us on YouTube, and for some reason, I just glanced up and I was like, "Oh, I didn't go." But we did have some pretty good viewership on Rumble. So, yeah. Other than that, well, we're here every Monday. Usually every Monday, 2 o'clock.
Probably not next Monday, but one of these weeks coming up, we'll have Randy Guppy here with that state representative, and Randy's thinking about doing it live.
Yeah, I mean,
to talk about the whole not ask for millages in these bullshit months.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. You that's your job. You keep me up on that.
If not, we'll be here. Maybe we'll bring just John on or somebody.
Guys, make sure you follow our Facebook page. We need to get to 100 followers so we can go live on Facebook.
We need to do that really bad. That'd
nice. I don't know what we're at. Last I looked, but yeah.
Stick the Plan Podcast Facebook.
It's down in the description. It's easy to find.
I don't post on it. I manage it, and I don't post on it 3-4 times a week. It's not like you're going to get flooded with bullshit.
Also, guys, you can check out still on Facebook the Grandma's Boy Productions page. That's the studio. The studio is for rent. I am offering some discounts to Rumble streamers just because Rumble's kind of my thing, and anyone that wants a little bit of studio time, it's the cheapest. I've looked up every other studio in
and everybody that has done it with you has been super stoked.
Yeah, just very excited. John is great. I mean,
he did take off Florida on you.
Yeah, but he rescheduled. Yeah. So that's fine with me. But anyway, so yeah, check all that stuff out, guys, and we will be back next Monday doing something.
Enjoy the rest of your Memorial weekend.
Happy Memorial Day, and
put the burgers on the grill.
Yeah, remember what it's about. Not just hot dogs and beer, but also include hot dogs and beer.
Because that is important.
Because I like hot dogs and beer. So, all right, guys, we'll see you next time. See you later.